The crash came without warning. One moment, the human exploration ship Wayfarer 7 was cutting through silent space, scanning a green-blue world below. The next moment, alarms screamed, lights failed, and the ship tore through the planet's thick atmosphere like a wounded animal. Fire wrapped around the hull. Metal screamed. Systems died, one by one. By the time the ship hit the jungle, there was nothing left to save. When the human woke up, pain was the first thing he felt. Pain in his chest, pain in his leg, pain in his head. He opened his eyes slowly and saw broken glass, twisted metal, and smoke drifting into the green light of a dense alien forest. His name was Elias Rowe. He was not a soldier. He was not a hero. He was an exploration engineer, trained to fix machines and map unknown worlds, not survive alone on them. The ship was destroyed. The escape pod had failed. The distress beacon was crushed under a fallen engine block. Elias tried to stand. His legs screamed in protest, and he collapsed back against a piece of warm metal. Blood soaked his torn uniform. His wrist display flickered weakly, showing a single message. No signal, planet class. Unknown rescue. Attack. Unavailable. He laughed once, dry and broken. Great, he whispered. The jungle around him was alive. Huge trees with wide leaves blocked the sky. Strange insects hummed in the air. Somewhere, far away, something large roared. Not once, not twice. Many voices answered it. Elias knew one thing clearly. If he stayed here, he would die. Using a broken metal rod as a crutch, he forced himself to move. Each step was slow. Each breath burned. He followed a small stream of clear water, knowing water meant life. He tore fabric from his uniform to bind his leg and stop the bleeding as best he could. Hours passed, or maybe days. Time felt meaningless under the thick green ceiling of the forest. That was when he realized he was no longer alone. The jungle went quiet. Not empty. Quiet. The insects stopped. The birds vanished. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Elias froze. From the shadows between the trees, shapes moved. Tall figures stepped forward, silent and controlled. They were humanoid, but clearly not human. Their skin ranged from deep bronze to pale silver, marked with natural patterns like living armor. Their eyes were bright, sharp, and focused. Their hair was thick and dark, tied back with bone and vine. They were all female. They carried spears made from sharpened crystal and bone, bows strung with fiber that shimmered faintly. Every movement showed strength and balance. Predators, not prey. Elias raised his empty hands slowly. I'm not a threat, he said, though he knew they could not understand his language. The nearest one tilted her head, studying him like an animal that did not fit into any known category. She stepped closer, her footsteps silent on the forest floor. She was taller than Elias, even injured. Her presence felt heavy, dangerous. She reached out and pressed the tip of her spear against his chest. Elias did not move. Running was impossible. Fighting was suicide. This was the moment where humans died in alien stories. But Elias remembered something drilled into every explorer during training. Humans survive by adapting. He slowly lowered himself to his knees, then to the ground. He placed his forehead against the soil, making himself smaller, weaker. Not submission to power, but a signal of peace. The alien women murmured among themselves in sharp, musical sounds. Some raised their weapons. Others watched with narrowed eyes. One of them, older than the rest, stepped forward. Her face was marked with scars. Her eyes held intelligence, not cruelty. She crouched in front of Elias and touched the blood on his leg with 2 fingers. She smelled it. Her expression changed, not hunger, but curiosity. She said something to the others. The spear at Elias's chest pulled back. Rough hands grabbed his arms, strong, careful enough not to worsen his injuries. They lifted him with ease and carried him deeper into the jungle. Elias lost consciousness again. When he woke, the air smelled of smoke and herbs. He lay on a bed of woven leaves inside a circular shelter made from wood and stone. Light filtered in through the roof. His leg was tightly wrapped with plant fibers coated in a thick green paste that burned but dulled the pain. He tried to sit up. A hand pressed him back down. One of the alien women sat beside him, watching closely. She held a spear across her knees but did not point it at him. Her face was unreadable. "You saved my leg," Elias said quietly, knowing she could not understand, but saying it anyway. She blinked slowly. Outside, he could hear many voices. Movement, life. He was not dead. That alone felt like a miracle. Over the next few days, Elias learned the truth. He was a prisoner. The tribe did not bind him or lock him away. There were no cages. There did not need to be. Every path out of the settlement was guarded. Every shadow held watchful eyes. The jungle itself was a wall of death he could not cross alone. They watched him constantly. They fed him unfamiliar meat and fruit. They brought him water. They treated his wounds with careful skill. Not kindness, but purpose. Elias realized something important. They were deciding what to do with him. He watched them as much as they watched him. He learned by observing. He saw how they communicated with gestures as much as words, how they worked together without argument, how every member had a role: hunters, guards, healers. They were not wild, they were disciplined, dangerous, strong. One evening, as the sun dipped below the trees, the scarred elder approached him again. She held something in her hand. A piece of metal. Elias's breath caught. It was part of his ship's hull. She placed it in front of him and pointed at him, then at the metal, then up toward the sky. She wanted answers. Slowly, carefully, Elias began to explain. He pointed upward, mimicking a falling motion. He drew shapes in the dirt: stars, a ship, a path across the sky. He showed them his wrist display, flickering weakly, and pressed the dead screen. The tribe watched in silence. Some looked afraid. Others looked excited. A few looked angry. The elder listened, truly listened. When Elias finished, she stood and spoke to the tribe in a long, firm voice. Her words carried authority. At the end of it, the tribe made a decision. Elias was not killed. He was not released. He was kept. That night, as Elias lay awake under an alien sky, listening to distant roars and unfamiliar songs, reality finally settled into his bones. He was stranded on a hostile world with no rescue coming, surrounded by a powerful alien tribe that did not fully trust him. And if he wanted to live, he would have to prove something important. Not that humans were stronger, but that humans were worth keeping alive. Far above the jungle, unseen and uncaring, the stars continued to burn. And Elias Rowe began the first day of what would become 2 long, unforgettable years. The days after that decision passed slowly, marked by pain, observation, and quiet tension. Elias learned the rhythm of the tribe by watching the light. When the sun rose, the camp came alive. Fires were fed, weapons were checked. Groups moved out into the jungle with silent purpose. When the sun lowered, they returned with food, injuries, and stories spoken in sharp, flowing sounds. He remained in the central shelter, guarded, but not bound. His leg healed faster than he expected. The green paste they used worked better than any medgel he had known. It burned when applied, but the swelling went down, and the pain slowly faded. Still, he was weak. The tribe knew it. Children, smaller versions of the women, quick and curious, watched him from a distance. Some laughed softly when he struggled to stand. Others hid behind their elders, unsure what to think of the strange, soft-skinned male who fell from the sky. Elias did not blame them. He blamed himself for surviving when he had nothing to offer. That changed the day the hunter did not come back. It happened near sunset. One group returned late, carrying only 2 spears instead of 3. Blood stained the ground behind them. Their voices were tense, sharp with urgency. The scarred elder approached Elias and pointed toward the forest, then made a slashing motion across her arm. Danger. Injury. She looked at him directly, not with threat.
With expectation. Elias swallowed.
He pushed himself up, ignoring the pain in his leg. He followed them. The jungle beyond the camp felt different. Thicker. Darker. The air pressed in on his lungs. Every sound made his heart jump. He knew this was not a place humans were meant to walk unprotected. They found the injured hunter lying near a broken tree. Her leg was bent wrong, bone pushing against skin. Her breathing was shallow. The tribe surrounded her, tense and uncertain. This was not a wound they could easily treat. Elias knelt beside her slowly, careful not to alarm anyone. He pointed to her leg, then mimed pulling it straight. He made a sharp sound, then held up a finger, signaling, "One moment." The elder studied him. Then she nodded once. Elias acted. He used 2 sticks wrapped with cloth torn from his uniform and carefully aligned the broken leg. The hunter screamed, a sharp cry that echoed through the trees. Spears lifted instantly. Elias did not stop. He finished the splint, tied it tight, then looked up with sweat running down his face. He tapped his chest, then pointed to the injured hunter. Live. Silence followed. Then the elder lowered her spear. The hunter lived. From that day, the way the tribe looked at Elias changed. Not completely, but enough. He was allowed to move freely within the camp. No spear followed him at every step. He was given simple tasks: carrying water, cleaning tools, sorting gathered plants. His leg grew stronger. His hands grew rough. He learned their language slowly. Simple words: water, fire, food, danger. They learned his. The first word they learned was human. The second was help. Weeks passed. Elias noticed things they struggled with, small problems they accepted as part of life, simple changes that could make survival. He showed them how to boil water with hot stones, how to place shelters to block wind during storms, how to sharpen tools at better angles, how to use leverage instead of strength. The tribe listened, not because he was stronger, but because his ideas worked. One morning, the ground shook. A deep vibration rolled through the jungle, followed by distant roars. The tribe reacted instantly. Weapons were grabbed. Children were moved into shelters. Hunters took positions. Elias felt fear crawl up his spine. Something large was coming. Through broken brush, the creature emerged. It was massive, low to the ground, armored with thick plates, its jaws dripped with saliva, its eyes locked onto the camp. This was not a hunt. This was an invasion. The tribe charged. Elias saw the mistake instantly. The creature's armor deflected spears. Its tail smashed a hunter into a tree. Panic rippled through the line. Without thinking, Elias grabbed burning branches from a fire and ran forward, shouting. He waved the flames, driving the creature's attention toward him. Heat and light confused it. It roared and turned, charging. Elias ran. He led it into a narrow path between 2 stone outcrops. As it squeezed through, hunters struck from above, targeting its eyes, joints, and throat. The creature fell. The camp survived. Afterward, Elias collapsed, breathless and shaking. The elder approached him, slowly. She placed her hand on his shoulder, not as a guard, as acknowledgement. That night, Elias was given a new sleeping place, closer to the center of the camp, among the tribe. Food was shared with him directly, not placed apart. He was no longer just kept. He was becoming part of something. Months passed. Rainy seasons. Dry seasons. Elias lost track of time, but his body adapted. His muscles strengthened. His reflexes sharpened. Now, his fear faded, replaced by awareness. He trained with the tribe, learned their weapons, learned how they tracked, how they listened to the ground, how they read signs in broken leaves and disturbed soil. In return, he taught them planning. He showed them how to mark safe paths, how to store food for bad seasons, how to set layered defenses, how to think ahead instead of reacting. The tribe grew stronger. Other clans noticed. Scouts appeared at the edges of territory. Silent watchers with hostile eyes. One night, arrows flew into the camp. The tribe fought back. This time, Elias stood with them, not in front, beside. The clash was brief and brutal. The attackers retreated when traps snapped shut and organized defense pushed them back. They had not expected strategy. After the fight, the elder spoke to Elias at length. He did not understand every word, but he understood the tone. Respect, trust. That night, Elias looked up at the stars through the canopy. He tried his wrist display again. Still no signal. No rescue. The truth settled fully now. He was not waiting anymore. He was surviving, and slowly, quietly, he realized something else. The galaxy believed humans were weak without machines. This tribe believed strength was more than muscle. And here, on a forgotten world, a human was proving something important. Not by conquering. Not by ruling. But by standing with those who had every reason to kill him, and choosing instead to help them live. The second year had not yet begun, but Elias already knew. If he ever returned to the stars, he would not be the same human who fell from the sky. Time stopped feeling like numbers and started feeling like seasons. Elias no longer counted days. He counted storms, hunts, scars, and quiet nights around the fire. His leg healed fully, leaving only a thin line where bone once threatened to break through skin. His hands were rough now, marked with small cuts and burns. His body moved differently, lighter, faster, more aware. He belonged to the camp in ways he had not expected. The tribe gave him a name in their language. It meant something close to Skyfallen, who endures. When they spoke it, there was no mockery, only recognition. He still slept under the stars sometimes, staring up through gaps in the trees, searching for shapes he remembered. Constellations, patterns from Earth. Most nights, he found nothing familiar. The sky here followed different rules. So did life. The tribe trained every morning, not for sport, for survival. Elias trained with them, running until his lungs burned, learning how to fall without injury, how to strike without wasting energy. He was never the strongest. He was never the fastest, but he learned faster than anyone else. He noticed patterns, weaknesses, opportunities. When the tribe hunted large prey, Elias suggested flanking routes and signal calls. When they moved camp for the dry season, he helped plan paths that avoided flood zones and predator nests. When a child fell ill from spoiled food, Elias showed them how to separate fresh supplies and keep storage dry. Small changes, big results. The elder watched everything. Her name, Elias learned, was Sakara. She had led the tribe longer than any living member. Her scars came from wars, beasts, and mistakes survived. She spoke little to Elias directly, but when she did, it mattered. One evening, Sakara called Elias to the fire circle. The hunters gathered. The air felt heavy. A scout stepped forward and placed a broken arrow on the ground. It was not from their tribe. Rival clan, Sakara spoke. sharp and firm. Elias understood enough now. The borders were being tested. The rival clan was larger, more aggressive. They believed the forest belonged to the strongest alone. Elias knew what that meant. War. The tribe prepared. Spears were sharpened. Traps were rebuilt. Lookouts doubled. Elias worked with them, helping place early warning signs. Simple hanging stones, disturbed ground markers, silent signals. The first attack came at dawn. Arrows fell from the trees. Hunters shouted warnings. Elias grabbed a spear and took cover, heart pounding but mind clear. He did not rush forward. He watched. The rival clan charged without order. Strong, fast, confident. That confidence broke against preparation. Traps snapped shut. Nets dropped. Defenders moved in pairs, covering each other. Elias used terrain, guiding attackers into narrow paths where numbers meant nothing. The fight was short. The rival clan retreated, shocked and bloodied. But Elias knew this was not the end. It never was. That night, he sat alone, sharpening a blade with steady hands. The weight of responsibility pressed on him. These people trusted him now. If he failed, they would pay. Sakara sat beside him. "You see far," she said slowly, using careful words Elias could understand. "Farther than others." Elias nodded. "Thinking ahead keeps people alive." She studied him. "You are not tribe." "But you protect tribe." He met her gaze. "You protected me first." Silence stretched between them. Then Sakara placed her hand over the firelit ground, palm down. "Then you are bound." The words carried weight beyond language. The tribe accepted it instantly. Hunters struck spear shafts against the ground. Voices rose in agreement. Elias felt something tighten in his chest. He was no longer a guest. He was bound to their fate. The rival clan attacked again weeks later, this time with greater numbers and caution. They circled the territory, cutting off hunting routes, testing defenses. Elias proposed something risky. They would not wait. They would move. Under cover of heavy rain, the tribe relocated part of their camp, leaving behind false signs of weakness. When the rival clan advanced, confident they had cornered their prey, they walked into layered traps and ambush points. The battle that followed was fierce. Elias fought not with rage, but focus. He stayed close to others, watching backs, pulling wounded out of danger. When a hunter fell, Elias took her place without hesitation. When it ended, the rival clan withdrew fully, broken and unwilling to return. Victory was not celebrated loudly. It was respected quietly. After that, the forest felt calmer. Months passed. A full cycle of seasons completed. Elias realized with a strange mix of shock and acceptance that a year had gone by. 1 year since the sky burned. 1 year since he should have died. His wrist display finally went dark completely. No power, no signal, no past, only now. The tribe grew stronger, more organized. Their children learned both instinct and planning. They learned Elias's words for counting, timing, and measuring distance. Elias learned their songs, their warnings, their humor. He laughed more than he had in years. Then, the predators came. Not one, many. Creatures driven from deeper jungle by changes Elias did not understand yet. The attacks were constant. Nights became battles of sound and fire. The tribe held but barely. Elias noticed patterns again. The predators avoided certain plants, certain sounds. He worked with healers and hunters, testing ideas carefully. They built perimeter deterrence using scent, noise, and controlled fire. Losses dropped. Life stabilized. But Sakara knew better. "The world shifts," she said one night. "When it does, strong things move." Elias looked at the stars. "Then we adapt," she smiled slightly. That was when the scouts returned with news that froze the camp. Metal in the sky, a falling light. Not like Elias's ship. Something else. Human. Elias's heart raced. He activated his dead display out of habit, knowing it would do nothing. Could it be rescue? Or something worse? He did not know. But one truth was clear. If humans came now, they would not find a wild tribe. They would find a people who had learned, grown, and survived, with a human standing among them. Not as a master, not as a ruler, but as one of their own. And whatever came from the sky next would change everything. The light in the sky did not fall again. It stayed. For 3 nights, Elias watched it move slowly above the clouds, a faint star that shifted position when no star should. The tribe noticed it too. Hunters pointed upward. Children whispered. Old fears stirred. Metal in the sky meant change. Sakara called a gathering. Fires burned low. The forest felt tense, as if it sensed something coming.
"Sky things return," she said. "Not falling, watching." Some hunters gripped their spears tighter. Others looked at Elias.
It could be human.
Elias said carefully. Elias said carefully.
Or not. But anything from the sky brings danger. Your people? Sakara asked. Yes, Elias replied honestly. And no, but humans are many things. That answer did not calm anyone. The tribe prepared the only way they knew how. Scouts spread wide. Camps were concealed. Fires were masked. Traps were reset not just for beasts, but for thinking enemies. Elias worked without rest. If humans came, he wanted the tribe alive long enough to choose. On the 4th day, the world answered with violence. The ground shook before dawn, not like predators, not like storms, like the planet itself was cracking. A deep roar rolled across the jungle. Trees swayed. Birds fled in screaming clouds. Elias ran from his shelter as Sakara shouted orders. From the distant valley, something massive rose, an ancient creature, older than the tribe, older than stories. It moved on 6 thick limbs, its body covered in layered stone-like plates. Glowing lines pulsed beneath its armor, like veins of fire trapped in rock. Each step crushed trees and shattered stone. The tribe froze. This was not an enemy they hunted. This was a force of nature. It comes because the world shifts, Sakara said grimly. It always does. The creature roared again, and this time it turned toward the camp. Panic rippled. Elias forced his mind to stay calm. Fire won't stop it, he said quickly. Spears won't either. Then we die, a hunter snapped. No, Elias said firmly. We move. He pointed toward the river gorge east of the camp. There. Narrow ground. Soft earth. If it follows, it sinks.
Sakara studied the distance, the terrain, the creature's path.
Then she nodded sharply. Move. The tribe scattered with controlled urgency. Children were carried. Supplies were abandoned. Elias stayed near the rear, guiding, urging speed without chaos. The creature followed. Not fast, unstoppable. When it reached the gorge, the ground gave way under its weight. It roared in fury as it sank partway into mud and water, thrashing, tearing the earth apart. The tribe did not cheer. They ran. The tremors did not stop. Over the next weeks, the planet grew harsher. Storms came without warning. Rivers changed course. Predators appeared in places they never had before. The jungle was reshaping itself. Sakara knew the truth. This land will not hold us, she told Elias. Not now. Elias felt a familiar weight settle in his chest. A hard choice. They moved again and again. Each relocation harder than the last. Food grew scarce. Injuries increased. Even with planning, The tribe was being pushed to its limits. Then the sky spoke. A sound, unlike thunder, rolled overhead. A shadow passed through the clouds, wide and smooth and wrong. A ship.
Human design. Elias stopped walking.
The tribe froze. The ship hovered far above, scanning. Lights swept the jungle. Elias felt hope and fear collide inside him. Rescue or conquest.
They will see us, a hunter said. Metal eyes see all. Elias looked at Sakura.
They will see a threat if you look like one, he said quietly. And humans fear what they don't understand. Sakura's jaw tightened. And you?
I can speak to them, Elias said, but I cannot control them.
The ship descended, not into the camp nearby. Small craft detached, moving low and slow. Scouts reported figures in armor. Human armor. Weapons visible. Exploration force, not soldiers. That made it worse. Untrained fear killed faster.
Sakura made her decision. No attack, she ordered.
No approach. The tribe melted into the jungle like shadows. Elias did not. He walked forward alone, hands open, heart pounding. The human team spotted him instantly, weapons raised, voices shouted in panic and disbelief.
Hold!
Fire! Elias yelled in standard. Human alive! Do not fire! Silence! Then disbelief. They rushed him, scanning, questioning, touching his torn uniform like proof of a ghost. You've been missing for 2 years, the team leader said, stunned.
We thought you were dead. I almost was, Elias replied. Listen to me.
You are not alone on this planet, the leader frowned. We saw signs.
Hostile indicators. They are not hostile, Elias said sharply.
They are survivors, and they saved my life. The jungle watched, eyes everywhere. One wrong move would start a war. Sakura stepped from the trees, tall, armed, calm. The humans froze. Weapons half raised. Elias stepped between them instantly. No, he said. Lower them. The team leader hesitated, then slowly signaled his people. Sakura studied the humans with open curiosity, not fear.
You bring Sci-Fi, she said to Elias.
And storm with it? I know, Elias said softly. The meeting was tense. Words were slow. Meanings took time. But violence did not come. Humans learned of the shifting world, the ancient creatures. The rival clans driven away by strategy, not slaughter. They learned the truth. This was not a primitive tribe. This was a civilization shaped by survival. The commander made an offer. Extraction. Immediate. Elias could leave. He looked at the ship. Clean. Safe. Familiar. Then he looked at Sakura, at the tribe. At children who waved at him without fear. If I leave now, Elias said, you will study them, change them, break them without meaning to. The commander hesitated. We can protect them. You will try, Elias said, and fail. Silence. Finally, Elias spoke the words that surprised even him. I'm staying. For now. The commander stared. That's an order refusal. Elias nodded. Then write it that way. The ship did not fire. It did not land again. It pulled back into the clouds, retreating to orbit. The tribe watched it go. Sakura placed her hand on Elias's shoulder. You choose tribe, she said simply. For now, Elias replied, until they are ready. The second year was ending. The world was changing. And Elias understood the truth clearly at last. Humanity's greatest strength was not power. It was the ability to stand between worlds and choose restraint. The ship in the sky did not leave forever. It watched. High above the clouds, human sensors observed the jungle world with care and growing respect. Reports were sent. Arguments followed. Some voices demanded intervention. Others urged restraint. On the ground, life did not pause to wait for decisions made among the stars. The planet continued to change. The ancient creature trapped in the gorge did not die. Weeks later, it freed itself and vanished deeper into the wilds, leaving behind broken land and unstable ground. Storms grew stronger. Seasons shifted early. Rivers flooded places that had always been safe. The tribe could no longer live as it once had. Sakara knew this before anyone else said it aloud. "This land ends," she told the tribe one night.
Not today, not tomorrow.
But soon, there was no fear in her voice.
Only truth.
All eyes turned to Elias. He felt the weight again. The same weight he had carried since the first day he survived when he should not have. "We can move farther north," Elias said slowly. "Higher ground, old stone ridges, less flooding. Fewer deep predators." The hunters murmured. That land was dangerous, hard, cold at night. "But survivable," Elias added, "if we prepare." Preparation became life itself. They did not rush. They planned. Routes were mapped using markers only the tribe could read. Food was stored in sealed pits. Lightweight shelters were tested and rebuilt again and again until they could be carried and raised quickly. Elias taught them how to think beyond the next hunt. The tribe taught Elias how to feel the land. Together, they changed. The move began at dawn under a gray sky. It took weeks. Some elders struggled. Some children cried from exhaustion. But no one was left behind. Not once. When predators attacked, they were driven off with strategy, not brute force. When storms hit, shelters held. When supplies ran low, rationing kept everyone alive. Other clans watched from a distance. Some fled. Some followed. One smaller clan approached cautiously, weapons lowered. They had lost their land to the shifting world and had nowhere to go. Sakara listened. Elias advised. The tribe accepted them. Not as servants, as equals. The tribe was no longer just a tribe. It was becoming something new. From the sky, humans watched this too. What they saw confused them. No ruler, no throne. No human command, just cooperation. When the human ship returned, it came differently this time. No weapons shown. No armored approach, only a single landing craft, slow and open. Elias stood at the edge of the settlement as it descended onto stone ground. The tribe stood behind him, calm but alert. The commander stepped out alone. "We've been ordered to withdraw," she said plainly.
This world has been classified as protected.
Elias let out a breath he did not know he was holding.
But, she continued, we've also been ordered to ask one thing. She looked past him, at Sakara and the others.
"Permission to learn." Sakara stepped forward. "You watch without claws," she said. "You waited. You did not take." The commander nodded. "Because one human showed us another way." Sakara looked at Elias. "You opened the sky," she said. "You also closed it." She turned back to the commander. "You may learn," Sakara said, "but not rule."
Not shape us into you.
The commander bowed her head slightly. "Agreed." Contact changed everything. Slowly. Carefully, humans shared knowledge without machines, star maps without coordinates, medical help without dependence. They listened more than they spoke.
Elias became the bridge.
He translated words, but more importantly, meaning. He stopped humans when curiosity turned into control. He stopped the tribe when fear turned into rejection. There were mistakes. There always were, but no wars, no chains, no burning skies. 2 full years passed since Elias fell from the stars. On the anniversary of the crash, Sakara called the tribe together. Elias stood beside her as she raised a carved symbol made from metal and stone fused together. "Skyfallen," she said, voice carrying. "You came broken. You stayed whole." She pressed the symbol into his hands.
You a tribe, she said, not guest.
Not keeper. Tribe. The tribe struck the ground with spears in agreement. Elias felt emotion rise, sharp and unexpected. "I came here by accident," he said slowly. "I stayed by choice, but what me built was never about me." He looked at the humans watching from a respectful distance, and never about humans alone. The commander approached him later, quiet and thoughtful.
You could come home now, she said. You've done more than enough.
Elias looked at the settlement, at children running without fear, at hunters planning routes weeks ahead, at elders teaching humans how to listen to the land.
This is home too,
he said. She nodded.
Then you'll be our voice out here. Months later, Elias stood on a ridge at night, stars burning above him.
Some were familiar now. Others never would be. Human ships no longer circled like predators. They passed like guests. The galaxy learned of the world where humans did not conquer, where strength meant patience, where a so-called wild tribe reshaped human thinking without ever leaving their land. Elias touched the scar on his leg and smiled faintly. Humanity would spread across the stars. But this story would travel farther than any ship. The story of how a human survived not by domination, but by adaptation, restraint, and loyalty. And how, stranded among alien beauties for 2 long years, humanity proved once again why it endured.